Welcome, Age of Vintage Society. Having spent more than 50 years breaking the glass ceiling, Walters was a TV pioneer who used persistence, brains and charm to forge an exceptional career. She was the first woman to co-anchor a network evening news programme. She developed to a high art the interviewing of public figures. "I knew I was driven to interview world leaders," she said. How Barbara Walters became a $1 million newswoman. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. When it comes to journalism, there are few individuals who have a career as iconic as Barbara Walters. Over the past few decades, the world has gotten to know the poised and ambitious journalist through her work and impressive hosting abilities. Walters was well known for her drive and abilities to lock down exclusive first interviews with some of the most high-profile cases in the nation. She has an exceptional ability to interview and has been immensely popular with viewers through the years. Barbara Walters spent her life asking the tough questions in the interviews no one else could ever get. Barbara Walters didn't just report the news. During her career she was the news, and a figure of historical import. She knew fascinating people, presidents and kings, poets and despots, actors and sports stars, and she knew how to make them talk. She fished with Fidel Castro, dated John Warner and grilled Monica Lewinsky. Walters was also a key figure in the transformation in what was considered news and who could be trusted to tell it. To do all that she was focused, indefatigable, competitive, manipulative and sometimes ruthless. There were costs, professionally and personally, but she is a consequential, complicated woman who defied expectations and expanded the opportunities for those who followed in her footsteps. She was the first woman to co-host a morning news programme, NBC's The Today Show, and the first woman to co-host an evening news programme, ABC Evening News. She was also a fixture on ABC's 2020 and created the long-running daytime talk show The View. Through her hundreds of blockbuster celebrity interviews, Walters herself became a celebrity and indelible pop culture icon. "She is like the autumn cherry tree," said Time magazine in 1995, in full flower. When a hard-edged news magazine waxes this lyrical about a woman, one would expect her to be a movie star. In this case, the object of the admiration is a journalist with a reputation for integrity, professionalism, and at times, unscrupulous competitiveness. But then Barbara Walters has always elicited extreme responses. Drawing the highest pay in the history of television broadcasting at the time, she is a pioneering figure in broadcast journalism whose career spanned over 6 decades until her retirement in 2014. Barbara Walters was born in Boston, Massachusetts on 25 September 1929. Her family was descended on both the patrilineal and matrilineal lines from Jewish refugees from Russia. Walters was born Jewish, though her parents weren't practicing Jews. Her parents were Louis Walters and Dena Nee Seletsky. She had 2 siblings, older sister Jacqueline, who was born developmentally disabled and died in 1985, and brother Burton, who died of pneumonia in 1932. She had a close bond with Jacqueline. "My mother used to dress us alike and spend hours doing our hair. My sister was very pretty and very sweet. She was what we would probably call developmentally challenged today. I loved her dearly." Her father operated a number of nightclubs, resulting in Barbara attending schools in Boston, New York City and Miami Beach, Florida. Because of this lifestyle, Walters grew up a lonely and shy child and was especially close to her only playmate and sister Jacqueline. Her father worked as a Broadway producer and was also the entertainment director for the Tropicana Resort and Casino. Because of her father's profession, she grew up in close proximity to celebrities, thus she was never in awe of them. Her life was filled with celebrities, excitement and financial success. Barbara attended both public and private schools. She graduated from Miami Beach Senior High School in 1949 and from Sarah Lawrence College in 1953 with a bachelor's degree in English. Until I was about 23 or 24, we were very rich. I can go around New York and show you all the penthouses we lived in, and then in my later 20s, it was all gone. From that point on, Walters focused on supporting herself and helping to take care of her family. After a brief stint as a secretary, she landed her first job in journalism as the assistant to publicity director and Republican activist Tex McCrary of WRCA-TV. She quickly rose to producer and writer. She also held various writing and public relations jobs, including a stint as a woman's program producer at WPIX-TV in New York City. Although Walters was thrilled to be working in television, she hoped to eventually appear in front of the cameras as a news reporter. She knew that she faced a few obstacles in this field. "I was the kind nobody thought could make it," she admitted. "I had a funny Boston accent. I couldn't pronounce my R's. I wasn't a beauty." When respected broadcast journalist Barbara Walters started working in television in the early 1960s, she became one of the first women to break into an industry that had long been considered a boys' club, meaning that it was designed for men only. Over the course of her 40-year career, Walters was the first woman to hold many kinds of jobs. "Don't complain, don't whine, don't blame anybody. Just work as hard as you can. I showed that not only can women do what men can do, but sometimes we do it better, faster and first." Walters' abilities and experience in research, writing, filming and editing earned her a job as news and public affairs producer for Columbia Broadcasting System (CBS) television. There she wrote materials for noted personalities who appeared on the CBS morning show that competed with NBC's Today program. She was a temporary replacement for Today girl Maureen O'Sullivan. They hired me for 13 weeks, and I stayed on for 13 years. She got her big break in 1962 when she was sent to cover First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy's trip to India and Pakistan. I barely talked to her. My time with her consisted of saying, "Mrs. Kennedy, there's a bobby pin falling out of your hair." At NBC's studios in New York City, she refused to be called girl. In 1974, she was named Today co-host, the first female to reach that position on a show dominated by men. "After me, every woman was a co-host. I feel very good about that," she said. Meanwhile, a number of different show business women held the post as the Today girl, but none had a journalism background. Mainly, they engaged in small talk and read commercials. Some at NBC began to think a different kind of woman might help the show. When the spot was unexpectedly opened, Walters was given the Today girl slot on a trial basis. The public readily accepted this bright, on-the-air newswoman, who also continued to write and produce much of her own material. Throughout her early career, however, Walters struggled to prove herself to male co-workers who believed that women were not capable of being good journalists. Because of their sexist attitudes, Walters often could not interview a subject until all of the male reporters had finished asking their questions. She was also discouraged from asking questions about politics or financial issues, which were not considered appropriate for women. It took more than a decade of working behind the scenes on Today before she was officially named co-host of the show in 1974. A few months later, Hugh Downs said Walters was the best thing that had happened to the Today show during his time as host. They would later be teamed on ABC's program 2020 as competition to CBS's 60 Minutes. Today featured stories by Walters that included socially significant topics, and frequently she got on-the-spot experience, which gave her reports even more credibility. "I don't get nervous asking questions, not when I'm working. I have a different kind of confidence. I'm in charge. However, I spend my life doing coulda, shoulda, woulda," she admitted. "My idea of hell is that I finish the interview, turn off the cameras, and then someone asks me, 'Did you ask them such and such?' and I go, 'Ah!'" Around this time, Walters was married for a short time to businessman Robert Henry Katz. In 1963, she married her second husband, theatre producer Lee Goober, and they adopted a daughter, Jacqueline. "When people can't understand that is yours," Walters said decades later about 1960s attitudes, "I've said she's born in my heart, maybe not in my uterus, but in my heart." She left CBS because she believed further advancement was unlikely. Walters moved to rival network ABC in 1976. She received an annual salary of $1 million. Co-anchor Harry Reasoner, however, was not pleased with the idea of sharing his job, particularly with a woman. Walters also came under criticism from viewers and the media. Some people questioned her qualifications or did not like her reporting style, while others disapproved of a woman earning such a lavish salary. Walters pointed out that she actually received $500,000 as the co-anchor of ABC News, the same salary as Reasoner, and $500,000 from the network's entertainment division for a series of hour-long prime-time interview specials. She is probably best known as the host of the Barbara Walters Specials, an occasional interview series which has aired on ABC since 1976. Despite the challenges Walters faced, she soon became an audience favourite. Barbara Walters has arguably interviewed more statesmen and stars than any other journalist in history. She is so well known that her name and a brief biography are listed in the American Heritage Dictionary. Walters has interviewed every American president and first lady since Richard Nixon. This is what she said about Nixon. He sat with us while we got the cameras ready and told off-colour jokes to the crew, trying to be one of the guys. That's the interview when he said he was sorry he didn't burn the Watergate tapes, she recalled. She made journalism history by arranging the first joint interview with Egypt's President Anwar Sadat and Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin. Another of her firsts was an hour-long prime-time conversation with Cuban President Fidel Castro, an interview which has been printed in half a dozen languages and shown all over the world. Through the years she has interviewed such world figures as Russia's Boris Yeltsin, China's Premier Jiang Zemin, Great Britain's former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, Libya's Muammar Gaddafi and Iraq's President Saddam Hussein. She was also the first American journalist to interview Russia's President Vladimir Putin and the first interview with President and Mrs. Bush following September 11. At the other extreme in 1999, Walters conducted the first interview with Monica Lewinsky, which became the highest-rated news programme ever broadcast by a single network. In September 2004, after 25 years as co-host and chief correspondent of ABC News 2020, Walters left the show to begin a new phase in her career at the network. She remains an active member of the news division and network, substantially increasing the number of prime-time ABC News specials, in addition to her Barbara Walters specials. The Barbara Walters specials are continuously the top-rated specials of the year and have included such legends as Sir Laurence Olivier, Bing Crosby, John Wayne, Betty Davis and Audrey Hepburn. Walters, the 10 Most Fascinating People special broadcast launched in 1993, offers a year-end review of the most prominent newsmakers of the year, as well as the selection of the most fascinating individuals. However, on a more serious note, Walters' iconic work had many positive influences on television broadcasting and reporting. The journalist is often praised for her role in the popular and well-loved show The View. Walters created the talk show back in 1997, and the show has been a sensational hit ever since. After many monumental interviews, Walters announced her retirement in 2013 and made it official just 1 year later. Though her fans and followers understood Walters' decision to retire, many of them have been wondering what the star has been up to as of late. When Walters first entered retirement, she shared with the Los Angeles Times, "I do not want to appear on another program or climb another mountain. I want instead to sit on a sunny field and admire the very gifted women, and some men too, who will be taking my place." Since Walters' hiatus from the public eye, there has been a lot of concern and speculation surrounding the former journalist's life. Unfortunately, a few years into Walters' retirement, it became clear that her health was declining. Walters' dementia and mental state have driven her friends, family and caregivers to drastic precautions. Sources close to Walters have revealed that she is shielded from the current news and times. Though many of Walters' fans and followers would love to see her on screen one last time, the chances seem incredibly unlikely. Hopefully Walters is able to enjoy the rest of her retirement. After all, with a career as remarkable and successful as hers, it is safe to say she definitely deserves it. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Barbara Walters? As the first female television personality to make an impact in the media world, Walters is an inspiration to all women hopeful of entering into television.